This is the U Show podcast.
Abdelkader has made it 3-1. That is his first NHL playoff goal.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in. This is the U Show podcast. I'm Chris Traft alongside Ben Gisselson, and I use alongside loosely as we're from the safety of our own homes in Atlanta and in Des Moines, Iowa. But nonetheless, Ben, we've got a great show lined up today. We're going to talk a little USHL and NHL Central scouting for the kids that are trying to get drafted here later on in the summer or whenever the NHL draft is.
Yeah.
And then we have a very cool interview with Justin Abdelkader, forward for the Detroit Red Wings. So a full show here for you and a pretty good one.
Well, indeed, another year where it looks like the USHL, at least by the central scouting standards, is going to be well represented again. You've got 81 names on there that somehow have ties to the USHL, whether that be current players from this past season or players that are likely going to be coming into the USHL from affiliate lists or players that have since moved on to play in different leagues, collegiately, etc. Great to talk about and great to see that the Central Scouting has plenty of USHLers on it. And, of course, Justin Abdelkader was terrific. I think our fans are really going to enjoy this one as we continue to have to try to follow ourselves up on, the last couple we've had have been strong, I felt, as well. So this one was enjoyable, though, for sure, with Justin.
So topping the whole list of USHL players that are going to hear their names called at the NHL draft is Jake Sanderson from the National Team Development Program. You've seen this guy play live. I always thought he was a great player when I watched the video and the games online, but then I saw him in person at the All-American game. And not only did he have a heck of a game, that probably helped, but man, this guy is such a smooth skater. He's got hockey blood in him with his dad being a former NHLer. I mean, this kid's going to be a star. He's ranked 4th amongst North American skaters. So, I mean, top 5 maybe. Could go, I think for sure top 10. If he falls outside the top 10, I'll be shocked. He's that good of a player.
Yeah, effortless is the word that comes to mind when I think of Jake Sanderson. You mentioned his father, Jeff, so he's, of course, had some strong backgrounds and some strong pedigree helping him into the scenario he's put himself in to potentially be a top 5 pick. And, yeah, watching him in person, giving him the eye test, very silky stride, he gets around the rink. But also his head keeps up with his feet, right? You do see guys that can skate so well, but they can't quite find themselves caught up in their head with where their feet get them, and that is not the case with Jake Sanderson. So, yes, I would agree with you, Chris. I think that an early showing from him will be likely when the draft does get decided and does eventually happen, whether it's virtually, in person, or however it ends up going to be.
And then after that, it's pretty much all development program and Chicago Steel players until we get down to the nitty gritty, but some guys that made big impacts and big moves. Brendan Brisson, Chicago Steel. I mean, he obviously put up great numbers, as did everybody on the Chicago Steel, but he was one of the guys that stood out. He's ranked 20th. So depending on how the European skaters go, because remember, this is just North American skaters, he could slip into the first round. I think he will not slip out of the second round, at least in my opinion. But I mean, he's another guy of those Chicago Steel forwards. You kind of throw a name in the hat and draw, and I think you'd be fine on the draft. But he's the one that's getting the most attention by the scouts.
Undoubtedly, and it's deserved. He had a spectacular year, and clearly the NHL Central scouting list is indicative of the year that Chicago had. But you look around the league too, and Chicago, I believe, 10 total listed, including some affiliates, but not too far behind them. Lincoln with 6 players on there, current or former, as well as guys that might be coming into the star program. Tri-City's got 6, Des Moines with 6. You've got Muskegon behind them with 5, Lancers and the Blackhawks also with 5. So you look at it from a perspective of, obviously, the developmental program is going to lead the pack every year because that's what they're bred to do. But for someone that works for a member club like Des Moines, myself, and for anybody else that works within the league for one of those member clubs, to see the high numbers that could be called on draft day is obviously, it brings a lot of pride to every organization.
So I'm going to throw you on the spot here. So of all the guys that are listed outside that top 31, Colangelo rounds out the top 31. You got Bordalo Smolanek too in the top 31. but goalies included, who is one guy that, is in the 40s or even 80s, 90s in rankings that you think has the biggest impact to be a sleeper and really make an impact on an NHL team in the future?
It's a great question, and I have a quick answer for you. It's Mitchell Miller from Tri-City. I only got to see him a few times this year as the Bucks and the Storm only played 4 times, and I actually was not down in Kearney for 2 of those games. But Tri-City came to Des Moines for a pair of games. I believe it was after the turn of 2020, and he was a dynamic dynamo defenseman. I was really impressed with him. He moves the puck well. He walks the blue line very well. I think he might have had a goal or 2 that weekend. He shoots the puck extremely well. He's a heady defenseman, and he was a guy that really jumped off the page to me, even though I only saw a small sample size of him. So that could go both ways. Maybe he had a great weekend when I watched him, and maybe he hasn't been doing that much for them when I'm not on the call. But that was the guy that I looked at, and I thought whoever gets him, I think could definitely get some high upside for maybe a lesser round pick out of Mitch Miller from the Tri-City Storm.
Well, you took my pick, so I'm going to have to find another one real quick. I think, and I'll call it a big surprise, I think Sean Farrell dropping as much as he did, 62. I think he's kind of the leader of that Steel group. I certainly think he has the highest hockey IQ. He's a smart hockey player. He's not flashy by any means, and obviously, he's smart. He's going to Harvard, but I really think Farrell can really prove higher than his 62 ranking and really eventually make it to the NHL. I really think he's that good of a player. And I think that, like I said, I was surprised when I saw him at 62 really, but I think another one would have to be Carson Bantle from Madison. I think that he gets underappreciated and he's underrated because he played in Madison and he maybe didn't get as much attention. And then you saw him play at the All-American game with, some really good players on his line. And you're like, man, this kid, I think, doesn't get as much respect as he's deserved because he played the last 2 seasons with Madison, who, struggled at times. So he's going to Michigan Tech, and he's going to be a big name guy there, right? As opposed to him going to Minnesota and maybe falling down in the depth chart. He's going to go to Michigan Tech and be an impact player. I really think that might help him. And I think whoever grabs him in the later rounds could really have a steal on their hands.
Time will tell. Let's just get a draft date for starters, right?
Yeah. Step 1, put one foot in front of the other. Yeah. So hopefully it's sooner rather than later.
Time to get into Justin Abdelkader, I think. And I do want to comment before we get going. Keep an ear open for the drum solo that we get in the midst of this interview, because that was my favorite part.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. We had a lot of fun with Justin. We had a lot of fun with the whole interview. It's very insightful. It's very entertaining. So stay tuned here, and we'll get Detroit Red Wings forward, Justin Abdelkader. From the Detroit Red Wings, the Stanley Cup champion, the former national champion with the Michigan State Spartans, Justin Abdelkader. Justin, how are we doing, my friend?
We're doing good. Just at home, trying to stay safe and in quarantine, and we're obviously would like to be playing hockey right now, but just kind of following the strict guidelines from our governor and our president. So
we don't have just one Abdelkader on the show. We actually have 2. Who you got with you?
Yeah, I'm joined with my son Jackson. He wanted to be a part of this podcast, and he's got his snacks in front of him that keep him a little occupied right now, but he's following along pretty closely here. So he's I think he's enjoying it. He's staying pretty good.
How old is the little guy?
He's about 1.5 years old. So he's that's been really nice being able to spend quality time with him, and I think we've gotten to our routine at home. We get up and we usually shower in the morning, and he brings his little mini stick in there, and while mom's making some breakfast for him, we're showering, and then he gets down, and usually the weather's been nice as of late here, which has been nice. So we've been able to get outside and spend some time. So I think we've all been kind of cooped up inside here with the weather being so cold and lots of rain. So lately it's been nice to be able to get outside and run around and kind of get pent up being inside for as long as we have.
All the guys we've been talking to, one silver lining that they mentioned is being able to spend times with with family and having a little more downtime, besides hanging out with the little guy and the family, like what else have you been up to? Have you been doing any cool workouts to try to stay in shape and be creative and all this, staying inside?
Yeah. I've actually ordered some weight equipment on Amazon. Everything, a lot of stuff was sold out, but found some that wasn't, and been trying to get some workouts, and I've been running more, which I've come to enjoy a little bit more. Just running around the neighborhood and just kind of getting into trying to stay in shape in case we do get that call. We're gonna get back to playing, but also obviously everyone's limited because we can't go to gyms. We have limited access to weights. So, I've been doing some body weight stuff. And like I said, I picked up some stuff off Amazon. So I picked up some hurdles and a few kettlebells, some dumbbells, stuff like that. But I'm just trying to take it in stride and make the most of what I have and try to enjoy it.
We're going to have some fun with you because you got one of the tougher names to spell and say from around the league. So we found some names. Some of them are former teammates, but so that might make it a little easier for you. But we found some names from around the league that kind of match the same difficulty with trying to spell out for you. So are you up for the challenge? We got 5 names for you. How many think you can?
How many can I get right? Oh boy, I'm a little nervous. I'm hoping I can get at least 3 right. That's going to be my goal. So I'm nervous. I wasn't always the best speller in growing up, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see.
Okay, this one might be easy, even though it's a tough one because he's a former teammate and a very recent former teammate. Andreas Athanasiou.
Oh
how do you spell Athanasiou?
I know you were going to start with that one.
Just the last name.
ANTHANSI. This is tough. I don't even know. Can I write this down so I can kind of see myself what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm a better speller when I can see in front of me. I don't even know what
Visual learner.
Yeah, visual, exactly.
We're a little more lax than the spelling bee. You don't have to wite it on your hand and then breathe or anything.
Yeah, no, I'm just
no
writing
Googling.
paper in front of me. ANTHASI. Intimacy. ANTHASI. Intimacy. Gosh. Intimacy. I'm like, I think I got this right, but there's a U. Oh, is it ANTHASI? U?
You're close. There's no N at the beginning. It's ANASIOU.
Okay.
All right. Here's the next one. Just the last name. Shane Gostisbehere.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Flyers defenseman.
GOST. Hang on. Yeah, GOSTI. S. Gostisbehere.
I'll give you a hint. You're right so far.
Am I?
Yeah.
GOSTIS. Gostis.
This is the tough part, though.
Gostisbehere. Gostis. B. Gostisbehere.
You're right again.
Yeah. Am I still right?
Yeah. And I'll give you there's 4 letters left.
4 letters left? HERE.
Yeah.
HERE.
There you go. Yes.
Oh my God, that was a complete stab in the dark.
Yeah. Gostis be here. That's how it's spelled.
Gostisbehere. Fair. Yeah, be here. Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're gonna switch things up. These guys aren't from North America. All right. Jyrki Jokipaka.
Oh my gosh. Jokipaka. JOK. What is it? Yaki.
Yoki Paka.
Yoki Paka. J-O-K-I. Yoki Paka.
Yeah.
P. Am I right so far or no?
Yes, you're right so far.
Jokip. This is gonna be the hard part. Yoki Paka. P. A. It's either it's Yoki Paka. P-A-I-K-A.
Close. You missed it by 1K.
Is it 2 Ks at the start, 2 Ks at the end?
2 at the end. P-A-K-K-A. The Finns, man, with those silent Ks.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, here's another Scandinavian. Jesse Puljarvi.
Jesse Puljärvi.
Yeah.
P-U-L-L. Oh my gosh.
Sounds like the little guy's helping you.
Yeah, he's trying to. Puljärvi. P-U-L-I-J-J-A-R-I. I don't know.
That's a tough one. It's Puljärvi. We'll give you a pass on this one. This one might be a little easier. He's a Swede, but still. Nicholas Hjalmarsson.
Hjalmarsson? Oh gosh, Hjalmarsson. It's H-J, right?
Yep, got the tough part out of the way.
That's A-R. Oh shoot. H-J-A-R. I know this isn't, no, that's not right, but John M-E-R-I-S-O-N.
Nope. H-J-A-L-M-A-R-S-S-O-N. Close. That was close. All right.
Yeah.
Last one. If you get this one, you win. All right. This is a former NHL All-Star MVP. Okay, so maybe you'll know this one. John Scott.
Johnscott.
Boom. There you go. You're the winner. Now let me
Make me feel good about myself finishing with that.
Those names were a lot more difficult than Abdelkader. I just have to go out on a limb and say that.
They were more difficult.
For the record.
Kind of sound it out and spell it almost.
Yeah.
There's no hidden vowels or hidden letters.
Let's talk more about Justin Abdelkader, which is the reason we're all here. Thank you for indulging us there a little bit, Justin, and having some fun with us at the beginning of the show. I want to start with the playing style that you've had clearly since back when you were in the USHL, where you had a lot of points, but you also had a decent amount of PIMs to go with it. The term that comes up a lot, agitator, the type of player that you hate playing against, but you love playing with. Where did that style of play for you come from?
Oh gosh, I just, I don't know if it came from anywhere in particular. I think it was just more or less how I like playing the game. I was always, stressed when I was younger and at younger levels to play the 200-foot game and make sure I go out and finish checks and play on the right side of the puck and do things right. So I just think it was always something that I enjoyed doing, whether it was finishing checks, and eventually once fighting could happen, sometimes you got to answer the bell and sometimes you got to drop the gloves, and that was kind of a part of it. But I just, I played football for in the middle school and the first 2 years of high school, grade 9 and 10, and enjoyed that sport because it was physical and there was contact and those type of things. And I think that's just kind of the makeup of me, as a person, and genetically, I just enjoyed, the physical style games. And that's, I think I always thrived in the playoff type of format where that's, showcased a little more too. So, I think like I said, I think it was just a part of my DNA.
Is there another agitator, whether it be at the USHL level, college level, professional level, that you've had consistent run-ins with, that you've come to know or learn that when you were on the ice and this guy was on the ice, there might be a few fireworks?
Oh gosh. It's in the NHL, Jordan Tutu was always one when I first came into the league, and I feel like I always thrived on, even when I saw, players on opposing teams, hit guys on our team, I want to go out there that much more and make an impactful hit for my team, and that kind of got my juices flowing and got me excited. There were multiple guys, whether it was him or, Wayne Simmons, some of the heavier hitters in the league, even Rafi Torres when he played, guys that really try to, change games, change momentum in games with hits and that type of thing. So I just really, I really would try to embrace that role. And obviously that's gotten tougher here with, where the game's gone and, how fast it is, how good guys are on their skates. And then, when you make those hits, you're always nervous of, the contact to the head, that is, for good reason, that is scrutinized. And, guys are so good at, just jab stepping and getting out of the way that, a hit that you think you have lined up shoulder to shoulder partially is head. So, you got to be careful of those type of plays. And I think that's part of the reason you don't see as many open ice hits anymore. For one, the game's so quick. For, secondly, it's, you could put yourself in a position to, get suspended and take a major penalty. So you got to be aware of that for sure. But, there's still a lot of room in the game for the physical contact. So I try to bring that as much as possible.
Want to go back to Muskegon, Michigan, where you grew up playing hockey. You mentioned you grew up playing football there too. The USHL, you were a third-round pick of Cedar Rapids, a relatively new team in the league at the time. How much did you know about the USHL? Was it always a part of your plans, or did it kind of come out of left field a little bit for you?
I think it was always kind of a goal of mine to play in the USHL. Obviously I played high school hockey the previous 2 years, and I wanted to play college. So I knew that was kind of the next step. I could have played high school one more year, but I knew that, after my junior year, had been named Mr. Hockey and was ready for that next challenge. And, being drafted to Cedar Rapids, had never been there, had heard of it only because it was a team in the USHL, but, I knew there was some interest there. Mark Carlson had a relationship with a couple high school coaches at the time. Scott Locke, who was at Grosse Pointe North, and then Todd Johnson, who was at Detroit Catholic Central. And I played with the Michigan Stars, which was a fall program, leading up to my junior year. And so I was around those guys a lot, got to know them. And, I think they really vouched for me as a player and as a person, and was a big reason why I got drafted to Cedar Rapids. But there was other teams, Sioux City was one that I thought could possibly draft me, and a few others. And but yeah, didn't know a whole lot going in, and then going into my first year, didn't know any players. So it was like a new start and almost like a new beginning.
So how difficult was that jump going from Michigan high school hockey? Nothing against Michigan high school hockey, but it's not the caliber of the Minnesota, like some of the guys we talked to that played the Minnesota high school hockey, and guys get drafted straight out of high school and then go to the NHL a couple years later. But it's a league or a level that you dominated. You had 80 points in 28 games.
Yeah.
The year that you were named Mr. Hockey, and then all of a sudden now you go to the USHL. It's your first time being away from Michigan. So what was that like, and how difficult was that jump?
Yeah, it was really tough. Well, not tough, but it was challenging to start. I remember, the first month of practice, it was just pretty much training camp and practices. I was like, wow, this is really fast, and guys are really skilled. In high school hockey, there's usually one or two guys that stick out on each team that are really good, and then the caliber drops off quite a bit. But when I got to the USHL, it was like all the players on the ice were really good. They were all the top of their, wherever they were from, top of their level, and all kind of came together. We had a really good team. We had a lot of veterans, which helped me tremendously. But I just remember that first month being like, holy cow, this is a big jump. And I felt like it forced me to elevate my game and elevate the speed, and I just felt myself getting better on a daily basis, and just from the practices. And we had like I said, had Mark Carlson as my coach, and I thought, he did a really good job with our group of guys, and then with me individually, and helped to propel me in my career, to get better. I tell a lot of people that was probably, one of the most important years of my career, just for the fact that I was leaving home for the first time, as a senior. It was a tough, it's always a tough decision to make. You have a lot of close friends and family, and you got to leave home to a place that you've never been or heard of. And, in some instances you can see it, hurt players as, whether you're going in living with a new housing family, or, can get off track or sidetracked real easily. And, I just went in as a fresh start and said I wanted to go out and prove myself, and try to become the best player I could. And obviously, going into that year, I had just signed a letter of intent with Michigan State. So, I knew I would be going back to Michigan either after the first or second year. It was originally I was supposed to play in Cedar Rapids 2 years. But they had one of their players, actually Ryan Turek, who played at he played with Omaha, had a bad knee injury, so it opened a spot for me to go in early. And but yeah, it was like I said, it was a really eye-opening experience at first, but for my career, it was a very important time, and like I said, it helped me to continue on my progression.
I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but you mentioned being away from home for the first time in Cedar Rapids. That's actually the only year in your entire life where you've played hockey outside of Michigan. Because when you came back, you went to Michigan State, then you went to Grand Rapids, and now you're in Detroit and you've been there. Do you take any pride in that, being a Michigan guy? And, you have your one season in the USHL, but I mean, the rest of your life, it's been in Michigan the entire time.
Yeah. I don't know if pride's the right word. I think more lucky than anything. Been very fortunate to, to play 3 years at Michigan State. And then obviously being drafted by Detroit, that was just, kind of one of those very, very lucky things. Out of all the teams, you'd ask me at the time that I could be drafted by Detroit, was probably at the bottom of the list that I thought was going to draft me. So, very lucky that way. Have been with the organization now. I just was talking with my parents. Can't believe it's been 12 years. 2008 was when I signed with the Wings and played my first 2 games, and then we went on to win the Stanley Cup, and I was a Black Ace. But it's been 12 years already, and it's like, gosh, it just, guys always tell you, enjoy it because it goes fast. But gosh, I can be one to tell you, it's just amazing how quickly 12 years have gone. But obviously, like we said, I've been very fortunate. Played in Grand Rapids for 1.5 years in the minors, and that was another league that I thought really helped me to get my confidence as a player. And you're continuing to climb that pyramid, and pyramid gets smaller and smaller at the top, and players get better and better. So that was another league that was good for me to play in, and play 15 to 20 minutes game and play in all types of situations. Because if sometimes you can go up to the big club and get stuck on a fourth line and kind of lose some of the identity of you as a player. And I thought it was a great opportunity for me to go down and play good minutes and prepare myself for hopefully playing in the NHL one day.
We're going to get to more of that time as a Red Wing. I want to touch a little bit more on Mark Carlson. You brought him up. That's a name that in the USHL has a lot of weight to it. Second winningest coach in the history of the league. He's done so much in Cedar Rapids, not only for that organization, but for that town in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. When people bring up members of our past lives, flashing memories tend to come up maybe one in specific. Is there a fondest memory that comes up for you when you hear the name Mark Carlson and the time you spent in Cedar Rapids?
That's a great question. It's tough to pinpoint without really thinking about the best memory. I guess one that comes up, was he would always make us do these drills in a tight space, like these 1-on-1, 2-on-2 battle drills. And we did a ton of battle drills in our practices, and you kind of always dreaded them, but you knew it was really good. And I thought it brought our team together as a group, because you're going out and you're wanting to prove yourself, in practices and against your teammates. But, whether it was a big hit or something that happened, you might be mad at the second, but then you're kind of laughing about it in the locker room after. And those were always he always ran a tough practice. And we always did those battle drills, and those were something maybe you think at first, like, I don't want to do these, my teammates, but we just all embraced it. And I think it really brought us together as a group.
That 04-05 Rider team, Anderson Cup champions, Clark Cup champions, a star-studded roster, yourself, not to be forgotten. Teddy Purcell led the team in points that year. He, of course, put together a great NHL career. Alec Martinez, Stanley Cup champion like yourself, LA Kings, a lot of talent on that team, but it takes more than just talent to win like that Rider team did win. So what was the reason in your mind that you think that team put together the season that it did?
I think championship teams that have been in the past, like you gotta, all the guys gotta buy in. Egos gotta be checked at the door and not brought into a locker room or into arena, and guys gotta all play for one common goal. And I felt like we had that. We had a really good mix, like I said, of veterans and some young blood coming in, young guys. I thought everyone had a defined role on the team and really played to that role really well. For example, I was our third line center and more of like in a checking role, and I knew my job and played on the power play as well, but I knew that I had to go out and make it really hard on top opposing players, and I took that in stride and was really excited about that. And I think Mark just did a great job of having our having each guy kind of in a specific role that that would suit them best.
Do we have a drum concert going on?
Give me 1 second. I gotta tell them to stop on the drums. Hang on 1 second, guys.
Amazing.
That was
Don't
awesome.
you dare touch my drum set.
Oh, that was great.
I saw you touch my drum set.
Oh, man, that's hilarious.
I think he's telling him to stop, and he's like, boop, boop,
Oh, man, that is rich.
I thought it was me at first. I'm like, is Bailey playing a video or something?
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, that's terrific.
I'm actually at my in-laws right now, and my son loves to play the drums, so my father-in-law was playing the drums with him, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, sorry, I didn't know."
That's staying in. We're not cutting that. You got the got the next Neil Peart on the way. So continuing with Cedar Rapids.
Yep.
The Clark Cup Finals. Sioux City's the dancing partner that year.
Yep.
You'd mentioned how in your career you looked ahead to some of the championships that you've won since. You're a guy that's won everywhere you've been, with the national championship later on at Michigan State, of course, the Cup, which you talked about with the Red Wings. That first big championship, though, was Cedar Rapids. What impact do you think that had on you in your future quests towards getting championships done with other teams?
For sure. Actually, I would even go back to my high school days. I lost in the semifinals. In my sophomore year, we lost in the semifinals in overtime against a really good Trenton team, and then we played them the following year and lost in the finals 4-3 when we had a 3-1 lead. And I think no matter what level you're at, you learn from. Sometimes a lot of people will say you'll remember the losses more than you remember the wins. I truly believe that's truly believe that's a fact. I really remember those games that we lost, and you kind of like, what could I have done differently, or how could I approach this differently? And I think that helped just me personally going forward, and helped me, learn, different ways to try to prepare myself, or how to handle certain situations. And winning the first time, I would even draw on that experience a bit. But then winning our first championship, or winning my first big championship with Cedar Rapids, I felt like that we swept the first 2 rounds, which was, we had such a good team, but we knew Sioux City was going to be really a big challenge, and ended up going to Game 5, which is like Game 7, because it's a best of 5, and it was at home. And you learn, and you learn to, you can't invest too much into one game. If you lose a game, you got to learn from it, and you got to move on, because if you let that game fester around, or hang around in your head, you're going to be out of a series really quick. So, you gotta learn. Each series brings on different challenges, and with video now, and pre-scouts and those type of things, players' tendencies, pretty much everything about them. So it comes down to that one-on-one battle with the guy across from you. You just gotta, have the will and the strength to go out and win that. And there's going to be some games that maybe don't go your way, and you lose, but you learn from those experiences, you learn from those games, and you try to start each game with a fresh mind. And I think that's what I learned, just in that type of playoff format, in that series, especially that one with Sioux City, is you have your ups and downs, but you got to stay as even keel as possible.
Appreciate the great gracious time you're giving us here,
Mm-hmm.
Justin. Last question for you about Cedar Rapids. I think about listeners that might be listening to this podcast in Cedar Rapids that remember you fondly. You're one of the big guys that those people remember. You were a fan favorite when you were there, the style of play. What were some of the places that, when you weren't at the rink, when you weren't at the billet house, because I know that's the 2 main places that junior hockey players spend their days, that you and the team was hanging out at? Restaurants?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys, went to the gym anywhere. What are some of the places you remember from Cedar Rapids that you spent the most time when you weren't on the ice, in the gym, or at the billet house?
Zio Giano's was always a place we went to. Good Italian spots. A place a lot of us would have pregame meals, or dinners the night before. Just that's a place that really sticks out to me. I think you'd ask a lot of the guys that sticks out to them. Obviously just played a year, but between that and I went to high school that year, Kennedy High School, and had a lot of good memories there. With we had like 7 or 8 guys that went to high school, so a lot of good memories with the guys there. And it just spent a lot of time with my billet family. They had 4 kids. One was gone away to college, but they had 3 others that were home. So spent a lot of time with them, and they still follow my career to this day. They've been to Grand Rapids, they've been to Michigan State, they've been to Detroit, and it's nice to stay in touch with them, because obviously they were a big part of that year too.
So we talked about you playing in Michigan your entire life, and you actually just missed out on being able to do that in the USHL because your hometown Muskegon Lumberjacks came in from the UHL. They went to play the junior ranks after you went through there and everything. How cool would that have been to play for the Muskegon Lumberjacks in your hometown? And I'm sure you have great memories of LC Walker Arena, before the Jacks moved to the USHL.
Yeah, no, that would have been awesome. That would have been really cool to be able to play at home. But you know what, I think about the experiences I had at Cedar Rapids. I thought it was a big time growing up stage in my life where, I had to, it kind of felt like I was going away to college a year early. And, it just really helped me prepare. And I think it helped me to transition into college. It almost felt like I was coming back home for college, which was a really good feeling. And, I just, the first month, hot on ice and off ice, was really challenging. You miss friends, you miss family, you miss your girlfriend, and it makes for it makes for some tough times for sure. But I think you learn and you become a stronger person. I felt like I did, and you learn some little bit of independence, I would say, and I really wouldn't trade that experience for anything. And I was glad I ended up in Cedar Rapids. I loved it there. Loved the housing family I had. Obviously, the coaching staff was great, and the players. I just think it was just a really good situation that helped me be successful.
I had to choose. Like, do you have Cedar Rapids and Muskegon? Who are you going for? Like, is that?
Yeah.
You see yourself following the Jacks at all or anything?
I do. And, I just hosted my first hockey camp there at the arena last summer. And, I'll follow their team and, follow Cedar Rapids as well. And really root for both teams. I can't say if I had to pick one or the other. It's tough because I wanted to see the team succeed in my hometown. And know how important that is, but also obviously have the close ties to the RoughRiders. So it's something that I'm very excited that our city of Muskegon got the USHL team, and it's been doing well there. I would hope to see them get a championship at some point. But it's been really fun. They've made a lot of great upgrades to the arena. Muskegon's just a big hockey town, and it has a rich history of hockey over the years. So it's great to see that tradition continue.
So you get to Michigan State, you have a couple of strong seasons there. Your junior year, you guys are in a dogfight with Boston College after making, I don't know if it was a Cinderella type run, but you talked about how the Spartans were the underdogs in that game against Boston College, an NHL loaded lineup with the Eagles that year. You score the game winner with 18 seconds left. I mean, that's literally a pinch me, I'm dreaming type moment. But before that, you thought you blew the chance to win that game. Can you take us back through that shift, the final minute of a national championship game, tie hockey game at that, and what that experience had to be like in the roller coaster ride that you were on?
Yeah, usually in games like that, you maybe get one or two really good chances. And I thought that was my chance. We had it was more like a 3-on-2. Guy was back checking and it's coming down the right side, and it would have been a tough pass to get it across, to Tim Crowder at the time. But it would have been a tough pass to get over to him, and so I ended up taking the shot and thought I had a good corner picked, and I ended up hitting the crossbar. And you don't really have time to react at that time. You're just like, you're just still in the play, and our defenseman pinched down to keep the puck in, Tyler Howells, and I was kind of curling up with my momentum to kind of fill him at the point. And then my line mate, Tim Kennedy, got the puck behind the net, and I saw once he had possession, I wanted to bolt right to the slot and try to give myself an opportunity to get open. And, he was just such a amazing passer, such a smart player that I thought if I got myself in a position, he could possibly find me, and he did. And it was a bang bang type play where the puck somehow found my stick, and I tried to get it off as quickly as possible to the far side of the net, because I knew that would be the best opportunity for me to beat Schneider. And I did. I was thankful I got. Sometimes those are tough to get good wood on, but got a really good shot off. And then from there, you kind of almost just it's almost like you black out. You don't, you kind of forget everything in the moment, and it's just like, did this really happen? I didn't know how much time was left at that time, but knew there wasn't much, and just a roller coaster of emotions, going from thinking that was your only chance you're going to have to win it to 30 seconds, 40 seconds later, scoring the winning goal, getting another opportunity. So, it's you just always got to be ready. And, you kind of, I almost felt like when it was 1-1, you almost try to envision yourself putting yourself in an opportunity to win. You want to score the goal, you want to win the game. And I felt like I just tried to envision myself, putting myself in a position to score. I wanted that puck on my stick.
How many times did you rewatch that goal, and how many times did you have to rewatch it for it to sink in before you believed that it actually happened?
Yeah, it was such a whirlwind, such a crazy play, crazy game. We actually had recorded the game at one of our hockey houses. Actually recorded both games just in case, like, we want to have it. And so we watched it. We watched that final minute of the game quite a bit that first week. As a team, just kind of hanging. We were all kind of stunned. We were, like I said, we were an underdog the whole tournament. And if people looked at our roster compared to other teams, they would think that we wouldn't have a chance. But we just had such a great, strong group of character guys, and like I said, guys that knew their roles on our team, and would play those roles really well. And we just got on a magical run. We had really good goaltending, and that's a type of tournament that it's one game, winner moves on. So it's a little different. You got to be on your game each and every time, and we just took that underdog role and ran with it and gathered confidence, and just had that chip on our shoulder. We just felt like no one was giving us any respect, and wanted to go out and prove people wrong.
Being a USHL guy, I know all the USHL alumni take a lot of pride in being a former player in the USHL. Do you still talk to anybody, whether it be a teammate or someone that you played against that comes to the Red Wings or anything like that? Do you keep in touch with any of these guys?
You know what? From teammates on Cedar Rapids, I would see Teddy Purcell when I played against him and talk and small talk with him and see how he's doing. Alex Stalock, same way. Alec Martinez on the ice, off the ice a little bit, and then saw him at a wedding this summer. So teammates, from the RoughRiders team, you loosely keep in touch with them. Mark Carlson, send some texts here and there back and forth. And then teammates that I've had along the road that I've played with, that have played on other teams. Obviously keep in touch with them too. But we had a very special bond and relationship with the guys on our team in Cedar Rapids, and we've talked about trying to get everyone together at some point. Maybe in the future years, especially as guys end their careers, whether it's over here, or overseas, or wherever they're playing, and just get everyone back. We just had, anytime you win a championship, you're bonded for life, and you have that special bond between each other. So, it'd be fun to all get back. I went back to Cedar Rapids a few years ago for they they're honoring past players, and so I went back, and it was the first time I'd been back since I played there, and dropped the puck and went to the stable. It was great to get back to the arena, and went to Zio Giano's for lunch, and it was just it was only, you can say it's only 1 year, but it was such an impactful year and such an important year for me. It just left a really big mark on my life. So it was great to get back, and great to see Mark Carlson and his family, and it'd be fun to, like I said, to get our group of guys back again.
Well, Justin, this has been fantastic. Thanks so much again for being as gracious with your time as you have been. I'm sure
no problem.
You got to go and get the rhythm section going with Jackson now.
Get him back on the drums.
Yeah. So best of luck with that. Hopefully you and your family continue to stay safe and healthy. And hopefully we're going to get to see hockey here very, very soon. Let's all hope for that.
Yeah, we all hope so. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Nice talking with you.
Another big thank you to Justin Abdelkader for doing our interview. That was a pretty good one. I mean, this guy wins at every single level he's at. So that was fun. It was entertaining with the drum solo and, the spelling bee we had at the beginning. So thanks to Justin for having a little fun with us. But good interview. I hope you guys liked it as much as we did.
No kidding. The spelling bee, the drum solo. The one thing I continually keep getting just enlightened by is the graciousness of the time that these men have had for us so far. Sometimes I get in there and I think, boy, are we going too long? Are we boring them? And they never seem to try to rush us off the Zoom call or anything like that. And Justin was no different. Thanks, of course, to Todd Beam with the Detroit Red Wings for helping set that up with Brent. It was great, no doubt about it. And we continue to hopefully raise the bar each and every week.
Well, speaking of that, our next show will feature special guest Dominic Toninato. And that was another good one. He's a young guy, so we related to him a little bit more than these NHL veterans. So he's still in the uptick of his NHL career. He's having the best season of his NHL career so far with Florida, and hopefully it can continue and he can stick with the Panthers and really make an impact. But it was a great interview from a Minnesota Duluth guy who stayed in Minnesota and went to Minnesota Duluth and after he climbed the ranks to the USHL. So it'll be a fun one. So make sure you check it out on our next episode of the U Show podcast.
I think what stands out to me, too, is the fact that we're ushering Dominic Toninato in as early as we are, right? I think we've put a precedent on trying to, some of the bigger names that we get, obviously we're trying to attract some attention and give listeners some inside information on some people that they know are household names. And Dominic Toninato, though you're indeed right, Chris, a budding NHL career, he maybe hasn't quite established himself as a household name, but it's a testament to how much fun we had on this interview and how strong of a performance he maybe gave us in terms of a great conversation that we're chalking him up this early on this list because we really had a great time. It seemed like he did as well, and I know the listeners are going to really enjoy it too.
Dominic Toninato on our next episode of the U Show podcast. Anything else for us, Ben?
I don't believe so. How's the weather in Atlanta?
Oh, it's great. It's actually been cold here recently. Which when I say cold, everyone's going to laugh at me because it was like 50 the other day and we put on hoodies. But luckily the weather's been great. How is everything up in Iowa?
It was sleeting the other day here.
Sorry to hear
we're
that.
in the midst of a cold snap right now. But it snowed in Minnesota earlier this week. And that's so my family and friends were telling me about that. And I was smirking because I got to play some golf during one of the nicer days this week. And that's not happening in Minnesota yet. So
yeah,
I've got it good down here in Des Moines based off of what I'm used to, that being a Minnesotan.
Yeah, well, you'd love it down here right now because all the golf courses are thriving. Just social distancing, obviously.
Yep.
With you can't give high fives after the big hit and everything. But as you can see, my golf knowledge, because I'm sure that made no sense to anybody.
Well, good. It gave some listeners a laugh. Then. That'll be good.
Yeah. The big hit, the drive, the putter, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I went golfing one time and I shot like a 125 in 9 holes. And they're like, all my buddies were like, why are you keeping score still? I was like, I want to see what my score actually was. And it ended up being like a 123 or something. So on a really bad course. So I just stick to roller hockey in the summers. I don't take hockey off.
Well, I don't think there's a better way to end this episode than with leaving the fans with the thought of you scoring a 125 on a 9-hole golf course. So well done, Chris, on the golfing and on our podcast today.
Yeah, I'm raising everybody's confidence. So when you go and you have a bad game, just remember there's always someone worse than you. And I'm the only one that can't say that because I don't know if there is anyone worse than me. So there you go, everybody. Your confidence is up. When we get back out there on the links, well, you guys, not me. You guys can have a little confidence there and have some fun. All right, so that'll do it for us. For Ben Gesselson, Brett Meskey, doing all the hard work behind the scenes as always. I'm Chris Treft, and this was the U Show Podcast.
This is the U Show Podcast.